What makes users quit early when the product is obviously working for those who stick around? Things can go wrong between signing up and getting value, even in areas that might not be obvious to check. And this can happen even when you are keeping a close eye on things. In this video, I look at 3 reasons users drop off that you might not have considered. Plus, one more thing about how you would know if any change you make is actually helping with activation. The first mistake teams make is showing too much too soon with no clear path through it. When building something powerful, teams naturally want to show users everything right away. From their perspective, that's where the value lies. But users see things differently. Having access to everything isn't the same as making progress towards their goal. They often sign up, answer a few questions, and then get thrown into a deep end with little or no guidance at all. The message is basically, here is everything, go explore. Now users have to do 2 things at once. They have to learn the product's features and figure out their own path to getting value from it. For example, this product asks about my experience level at the start of onboarding, so I said I was new. However, it then behaves as if that answer was never given, providing the same open-ended experience regardless. Now this creates a trust issue because I've just told the product I don't have much experience and I probably need more help, but it's responding with a good luck attitude. And yes, there are courses available within the community which may be useful, but if I get stuck, I have to pause and decide where to look next. I then have to find the right course, figure out which lesson is relevant, and return to where I left off. The onboarding experience hasn't really made it easier to me to get started. It's just shifted all the work to me. I'm still the one who has to figure everything out, which is where self-serve onboarding falls short. Because technically the product gives access to everything, but the user still needs someone or something else to achieve value. It's like starting a video game at the final level instead of at level 1. You have all the abilities and weapons, but it's overwhelming because nothing's been introduced in a logical order, so none of it feels usable. Having everything at your fingertips has actually made it harder to take that first step. And while of course you can go away and watch tutorials, it's much more enjoyable to actually play the game. Effective onboarding takes the pressure off the user. Instead of overwhelming them with choices, it gives their first experience some sort of shape. It looks at what users want to achieve and introduces the right features at the right time. The question becomes, what does this user need to see, understand, and in what order to get closer to the value they came for? When you can answer that, 2 things happen. Fewer users drop off before they reach the value, and fewer users need extra support to get there. An open-ended experience burns through a user's patience on day 1. A more guided path means that patience is spent on experiencing the product and not navigating it. For complex products, things like courses, community help, and human support can still be valuable, but they should help users dive deeper, not be necessary for understanding the basics. So narrowing the experience down to one clear next step solves the first problem. Whether that step actually makes sense is a whole different story. And that's the second mistake. Asking users to act before the step is clear can cause problems. They can struggle to finish certain actions if the steps are not clear. And there are 3 main issues that can make a step unclear. The first one is the user cannot identify it as the next step. So the team may have created a path to value and knows what the next step should be, but the UI doesn't make it clear. For example, in this product, 2 elements compete for the user's attention: a watch video banner and the play button. Neither is the action the user needs to take next. The actual next step is uploading or creating design, is the least prominent thing on the screen, and most users will likely struggle to recognize it as their next step. The second problem is they might not understand why a particular step is necessary. Some steps are straightforward. People know why they are being asked to create a password, for example, as they've done it many times before. But when a step is unfamiliar, high effort, sensitive, or not obviously connected to the outcome the user is trying to achieve, they may start questioning it. They will ask themselves questions like, why do you need this? Why now? Can I change it later? Is this safe? This hesitation matters because it can make users drop off, especially during onboarding when they haven't seen the value of the product yet. Here is a good example. In the version I saw, they marked the phone number as recommended, but didn't explain why. Some users will hesitate to share personal data, wondering why it's needed, even if it is there for a good reason. The third reason why some steps might be unclear is users don't know how to complete the step. Even when the user has identified the next step and understood why it's there, they still have to work out how to actually complete it. Take this landing page builder as an example. As soon as I landed in the product, a training template was pre-selected and the preview opened on the right. The preview had a heading that read, "Welcome to the Builder Basic Template," and underneath it, "Follow the steps below and replace the placeholders with your brand elements." The page also had numbered annotations all over it, pointing to different parts of the layout, each with a short instruction next to it. So I started clicking the numbers, but nothing happened. Well, it turned out the numbers were just labels on a static preview, and what I should have done is click on the Start with this template button in the bottom corner. Now, when I explain this, you might think it was obvious, but this is how attention works on a new screen. When a screen tells you to follow number steps and show you number steps with instructions, that's how you expect to complete the task. People don't stop to question whether the instructions are real, they just follow what the screen tells them to do. Each of these clarity gaps adds up and can make users lose patience. Each gap is a potential drop-off point. And even if they experience value at the end, they will judge the product based on their experience when deciding whether to log in again, pay, or share it with others. To fix this, make the step understandable before the user interacts with it. Make the main action obvious. On each screen, decide which action moves your user forward, then make that action the most prominent thing on the page. Give it the highest visual priority and reduce the importance of anything that's just supporting, optional, or only used for later. Explain why something is necessary, but do so in a way that's honest, specific, and useful to the user. Not just why the business needs it, but why it matters to them. Make the requirements clear. Do not let your user discover important details after they have already taken an action. If only certain file types are accepted, say so before they upload. If a field requires a specific format, show the format before they start typing. If an answer needs a certain level of detail, provide an example. If two options lead to a different experience, explain the difference before they can make a choice. And finally, put guidance where and when your user needs it. If a piece of information is necessary to complete this step, place it next to the field, option, button, or action it explains. Only use tours, videos, and help centers for additional support, and not for essential information they need to complete the step. Once you've got a clear step, it's time to think about what happens next. When a user completes a task, the next question is what the product does afterwards. Mistake number 3 is leaving users stuck after taking an action. In onboarding, every important action needs a clear feedback. If your user does something, the product needs to show whether it worked or not. Here's what changed and here's what to do next. When that cause and effect line breaks, your user stops making progress and starts investigating the product. I've noticed 2 common issues with feedback in SaaS onboarding. The first is that there is no feedback, or it's so subtle it might as well not be there. Second, when something goes wrong, there is no clear way to recover. I came across a great example a few months ago while building my website, which had both problems. I made changes to a page and clicked publish. At first, it seemed like nothing had happened, so I tried multiple times. It turned out I had missed a tiny error message far away from the action I had taken, and the message disappeared after a few seconds. So the product technically gave me feedback, but I had to notice it and connect it back to the action myself within a few seconds. Then there was the second problem, the error itself. When I finally noticed the message, it just said server error 500. That may be technically accurate, but it did not explain the problem in a way that I could understand. Now, this product is for both tech-savvy and non-tech users. Some users may understand technical terms like error 500, but many will not. I ended up researching on Google and using AI chatbots to try and figure out what the problem was. Interestingly, the issue wasn't even caused by the product. It was related to my hosting provider. But the thing is, your users will not care if the error is your fault or someone else's, As they are using your product, they want a solution from you. And the very simple solution is just a clearer error message in this case. Something that tells users how to solve the problem. Something like, we couldn't publish your changes, try again in a moment. If it still doesn't work, contact your hosting provider for support. This way I know who I need to contact, and I'm not going to blame this product. So the opportunity here is to remove uncertainty after the user acts. After every important action, the product needs to make two things clear: what happened and what the user can do next. And if something failed, there is one more job: help them recover without making them investigate your product. That means the feedback needs to be noticeable. It needs to stay available long enough to be useful. And it needs to give the user enough context to continue. Because feedback is not there to decorate your interface. It's there to keep your users confident enough to continue. Now, those 3 mistakes all happen to your user. Mistake number 4 is a bit different. It's all about measuring the wrong thing when it comes to your onboarding process. Checklists and product tours make this feel easy because they come with built-in completion data. Checklist finished, tour watched, and that number feels like evidence. But here's the thing. It's only evidence if you're measuring the right action. The action that tells you activation has actually happened for your user. And that action is specific to who your user is, what brought them to your product, what they've already tried before they found it, and what they needed to experience before they would trust it and come back. Completing a product tour on its own usually isn't enough, as it only shows they've seen your product, not that they understand it or got any closer to what they signed up for. A checklist can be useful if it's focused on actions that help users get value, not just features you want to show off. If your checklist is just about exposure, completion only tells your users got through the list, not whether they did anything that will predict retention. So how do you find the right action to track? Start with users who are already retaining and look at what they did early on. Then compare that with users who sign up around the same time and didn't come back. If an action shows up much more often in the retained group, that's your candidate. It's not proof yet, but it's a good hypothesis. Once you've identified it, track completion of that action, as it's now pointing to the behavior you think predicts activation. Next, keep testing that hypothesis as more users go through your onboarding. Check if those who complete that action retain at a higher rate. If they do, you've found a stronger signal and you can work backwards to create a path to that action. Each of these 4 mistakes can be fixed, but to do it properly, you need to know your user inside out, and you need to know what will make them stay and come back. Without this knowledge, you won't get better activation rate. And this is the bit that most onboarding work misses. So I have made a video about it, which you can check out. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you there.